Hi, I'm Graeme Waterfield, one of the co-creators of Seated Yoga. Thanks for buying this DVD. So if you sat here thinking, is seated yoga for me? The answer straight away, I know, is yes. That's because seated yoga is for everybody. So I use this in my Tai Chi classes with able-bodied people, and the reason we use it in Tai Chi classes as opposed to kind of regular yoga is that firstly everybody can do it, from the people who come in with kind of limited mobility as well as really able-bodied people. And the reason we use it is it's just so quick to become very peaceful with seated yoga. We sit down, we go through all the postures, and it's a very gentle way of bringing the attention into the breath, into the body, and ultimately just letting go of the whole day that's gone before them, and maybe even the night that kind of has to start after the yoga class or the Tai Chi class as well. I also use seated yoga with people who've had strokes, who have very limited mobility, perhaps even having some kind of paralysis in a part of the body, and they just get as much benefit as able-bodied people with seated yoga, as I'll explain later, because yoga has more to do with the mind than with the body. So whoever you are, however your body is, whatever you're experiencing in your life at the moment, seated yoga will give you a benefit, absolutely no doubt. So some people might think, well, yoga is something that needs to be done on a yoga mat. Historically, that's always been the case, but it's not so. Yoga is much more to do with the mind than with the body. So it doesn't actually matter where you're doing yoga, in a chair, on a yoga mat, stood up, upside down, it really doesn't matter. The most important aspect is bringing the mind into balance. I've seen countless students at my own yoga classes. Some have incredible abilities to go into very advanced yoga postures, but as they're holding these incredibly advanced yoga postures, beyond anything I can do myself, they're kind of reading posters on the wall, or they're looking up at the ceiling. You can see the mind is very busy. But then I also have students that have very little flexibility in the body, that kind of groan and creak and ache their way through a yoga session. But at the same time, I started to observe that those students were actually very peaceful as they were doing the postures. They just had this kind of serenity, which some of the other students doing the more advanced postures didn't. And that's really what blows me away about the seated yoga sequence. I see people who've never been on a yoga mat in their life, maybe even in a wheelchair, have very limited mobility, going into incredible states of peace beyond anything I've seen. My more advanced students, I use the term more advanced, but I've been students who can get into very advanced yoga postures, haven't experienced the levels of peace I've seen people in seated yoga sessions reach. And really, that's the main, or one of the main aspects of yoga, finding that peace. So forget any worries that you have about limited mobility. Yoga is for everyone, and we'll show you how with a seated yoga sequence. On this DVD, it's broken down into certain sections. The first two sections I hope you find very useful. The first is I'll be taking you through the 20-minute seated yoga sequence. That will go through it from beginning to end. I'll also give an instructional over the top. They're kind of really like I'm teaching you, as in you were one of my seated yoga students and we were at a class together. Also, I recognise that some of the postures in the seated yoga sequence may be just a little bit too taxing for people who have a limited mobility. So one of the other co-creators of seated yoga, Jazz, will actually be there to guide you through some easier, much more gentle postures that really can be accessed by just about everybody. After that, we had Julian, another amazing body worker who has a great foundation in anatomy and physiology, and also in Thai yoga massage. He'll be taking you through the specifics much more deeply of each of the postures, how it affects the mind, the body, and the skeletal system, just about everything you can imagine about each of the postures. If you can follow this DVD 3 times a week, just spending 20 minutes going through the sequence 3 times a week, I can guarantee you'll feel the benefits. There's no way that you won't. You'll get addicted to that feeling of peace, happiness, and joy within yourself. So you may want to take that further. Taking it further may be that you might want to come to us and train to actually be a seated yoga instructor, and we can actually arrange that. We're running workshops for all kinds of people who want to actually kind of share this seated yoga with others. So if you want more information, just look on the back cover of the DVD. There you'll find our website. Go to the website and it has all kinds of information about training, about where to find instructors, all kinds of things about seated yoga. Also, we'll have maybe new postures coming on the website, new routines. So just keep on checking out the website to take it further. So I know that you're going to enjoy this seated yoga sequence. So why waste any more time? Let's get started.